Did you catch me? Yes, I did. I never thought you'd have an illegitimate child. And even my mother-in-law knew about it. You noticed, didn't you? I met a regular customer at the supermarket. She saw my mother-in-law with a baby. I thought I wouldn't get caught because there's some distance, but secrets do come out, don't they? I found out my husband has an illegitimate child. I'm confronting him and his mother about it, but neither of them seems flustered that the secret is out. I felt eerie about their composure. I'll tell you now, because there's no point in hiding it anymore. Before we got together, I told you I had broken up with her, but that was a lie. We're still together. The kid is hers. My husband explained why he married me. It's a shame I got caught, but we won. Originally, I should have been the one to press them after finding out about the child, but instead, I was the one who was mentally cornered. After all this, do you still want to stay married? The only choice is divorce, right? Get out of this house. I knew about the child and came intending to corner them, but it seems I failed. I'm leaving, so please give me 1 day to prepare. You're hopeless. Just 1 day. They laughed mockingly as they left the house. I was underprepared and defeated. I admit defeat this time and will back down. But this is a strategic retreat. Next time, I'll be fully prepared to face my husband and mother-in-law. The next afternoon, while I was waiting for the moving company, my husband and mother-in-law returned. What, you're still here? You're not planning to stay after saying you'd leave, are you? The moving company is coming today. I think the truck will be here soon. After a while, 2 trucks, large and small, arrived. Hey. You brought quite a big truck. No cliched moves like taking all the furniture and appliances. I wouldn't do that. Furniture and appliances are shared property. If I took them, it would make me look bad. I guided the movers into the room and had them start moving my things out. True professionals. They efficiently cleared out all my stuff and packed it into the truck. What? What's this? I'm Julie. I'm 31 and work as a nurse. I'm newly married to Mike, who runs a restaurant. I met my husband at his place, where I was a regular. Thanks for coming in today. Here's your beer and beef jerky. Thank you. Mike remembered my face and my usual order, and when I sat at my usual spot at the end of the bar, he always had a set of wet towels and my usual order ready. I'd wipe my hands with the wet wipes, take a sip of beer, and then place the rest of my orders. Once the food was served and Mike was free, our conversation would start. You're always working hard. What do you plan to do with all the money you're saving up? You're teasing me about being single at 30 again, huh? I don't have anywhere to spend it, so it just accumulates. But you work just as hard, Mike. In my case, it's just no rest for the broke. I'm working, but unlike you, Julie, I don't have money. Come on, Mike, you've got a girlfriend, right? Maybe it's time to start saving for a wedding? That's the thing, I just broke up the other day. Oh, sorry. If you feel bad, ask for 1 more dish. As expensive as possible. For a moment, I looked embarrassed, but Mike quickly made a joke and smoothly steered us past the awkward moment. Thanks to him, I continued to enjoy delicious food and drinks. Meanwhile, secretly in my heart, I thought, maybe this is my chance. Actually, I had a bit of a crush on my husband. But knowing he had a girlfriend, I couldn't do anything. Now that he said he was single, I started making my move. I successfully started dating my husband, and a year later, we were planning to get married. Meeting the in-laws is usually a big hurdle when it comes to marriage. But not for me. Here's your beer and beef jerky. Thank you, Mom. As usual, after work, I stopped by my husband's restaurant for a beer, which I quickly gulped down before placing my order. My usual set was brought over by my mother-in-law. Since she worked at the restaurant and I knew her as my husband's mother, I had already been calling her Mom. Is the wedding preparation going well? Yes. Since it's just a photo wedding, there's not much to prepare. I'm sorry. I wish this restaurant was doing better. Didn't you want a proper ceremony? You told Mike to spend more money on it, right? Turning that down seems odd. No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. I understand how Mike feels about using my money for the wedding. I'm happy just to wear a dress. I'm sorry. We promised not to talk about this anymore. I should also apologize. I need to watch how I phrase things. My mother-in-law and I apologized to each other and ended up laughing. Having a good relationship with her before marriage, it seems unlikely I'll have any troubles with my mother-in-law. This is the last of the luggage. Just some remaining paperwork to finish. It might be too late to say, but are you sure about this? Wouldn't it have been better for me to move into Mike's house? The restaurant will be far, won't it? If we did that, you'd be far from work, right? That's why we moved halfway between our jobs. We had moved before the wedding. There was no particular reason, just that Mike said it was better to get it done before the wedding rush. I think that was a good call. It's because this move isn't just about me and my husband, but about my mother-in-law as well. Hey, do you know which box has the work clothes for the restaurant? It's the one marked clothes 3. My mother-in-law came out to call us while we were outside seeing off the mover's truck. As I followed my husband back inside, I felt the reality of our new life beginning. My mother-in-law had been divorced since Mike was in elementary school and had lived with him ever since. She is 61 years old. Therefore, Mike said he couldn't just leave her alone because he was getting married. I still remember the look on my husband's face when he cautiously brought up the idea of living with his mother, fearing I might be against it. It's understandable that some might hesitate at the sudden prospect of living with their mother-in-law. However, I knew she was a good person and we already got along well, so I had no objections. The move was completed, and we recently finished our photo wedding, officially becoming husband and wife. Now, with the inclusion of my mother-in-law, our married life was about to truly begin, and I was bracing myself for it. However, the resolve I was gathering would soon be used in a way I hadn't imagined. 3 months after the wedding, when my mother-in-law was asleep and it was just my husband and me, he looked resolute as he began to speak. I have something important to discuss. What's up? You seem very formal all of a sudden. Actually, I've been thinking about closing the restaurant. What? Why? I was shocked by his unexpected words. I knew the restaurant wasn't doing well. That's why we had a simple photo wedding. Even though the business was down, it was still bringing in enough for him and his mother to get by, and I was working too. Before we married, he was determined to turn things around. Why would he suddenly decide to close without any warning? I thought you were going to keep trying with the restaurant. I intended to, but not having a proper wedding ceremony really got to me. We need to think about the future, and considering my mom's age, she can't help at the restaurant forever. I thought it's better to decide early on what to do next. I've been mulling this over for the past 3 months. I carefully read his expression. Should I encourage him to keep the restaurant open, or support him if he's serious about closing it? This is a critical decision. If you do close the shop, what will you do next? I worked in sales for 2 years after college, so I plan to focus on finding a job in sales. But before that, there's the task of closing down the shop, which is a bit of a hurdle. Is it hard to close down the restaurant? Well, it's not just hard, there are some problems. When we started the restaurant, we borrowed about $200,000, and we still owe around $120,000. Plus, we need to strip the place down to the skeleton, which means demolition costs. And then, things like the fridge and stove, which we got secondhand, probably won't sell. That means we'll likely have to pay disposal costs too. My husband explained all these details very clearly. From his expression, there seemed to be a hint of regret, but his mind seemed almost made up given how much he had thought this through. I decided to say something to help him take the final step. If it's about money, you can just work hard at a sales job. I think we can just about manage with my income, even if your mom stops working. So, you could use all your earnings for the debt. Really? But that's... You're not gonna worry like you did with the wedding, right? We're married now. Lean on me where you need to. Okay, if you say so. It seems my words convinced my husband to decide to close the restaurant. The following week, he began the process of shutting it down. Which number is this? Oh. Who should I talk to about this? My mother-in-law was puzzled as she looked over her notes. Closing down the restaurant seemed harder than expected. She had been helping, making calls and running around, getting confused about what to do next and who to contact. This made it difficult for my husband to progress with the work, so he asked me to help with the closure. Just handling the disposal of the fridge and stove would be great. Got it. What should I do? Try to sell what you can and use the money for the disposal costs of the items that can't be sold. Try to get as much as possible for them and keep the disposal costs low. This is the list. There's quite a lot, huh? I wish we could just dump it all as trash, but there's the money issue. I know it's a hassle, but I'm counting on you. He then carefully explained to me about potential buyers who might purchase the equipment and the companies for disposal, noting to be careful not to get lowballed or have the disposal costs inflated. Disposing of unwanted items is this challenging, so it's understandable why my husband and mother-in-law are in such a flurry. Are you sure it's okay not taking notes? Oh, it's fine. I have the list and notes Mike gave me. Plus, I'm recording this conversation on my phone just in case. Sorry about this. You're also helping out with family stuff, aren't you? That's no big deal, don't worry about it. All right then. I'll leave the rest to you, just let me know if anything comes up. Mike looked at me with concern. He probably thinks he should be doing this himself. But he's asking for my help, which means he really needs it. Determined to be useful, I started getting rid of the unnecessary items. Wow, this is something. Even throwing things away costs money. I saw the harsh reality when I looked at the quote from the disposal company. I had the company inspect the equipment, and just as Mike had said, most of the items were old and difficult to sell. A few things could be sold, but for next to nothing. It's such a waste, considering they're still usable. While I was dealing with the disposal company, Mike was at the restaurant, showing the demolition team around. Maybe he was discussing how to dismantle his shop, his face a mix of anxiety and sadness. I remembered the slightly reluctant look on his face when he decided to close the shop. Maybe he wanted to keep it running a bit longer? That thought made me feel a bit guilty for pushing him toward closing. But now, there's no going back. I resolved to do whatever I could to support Mike more than ever. It's all finished now. Yeah, we managed somehow. Really, thank you. The closure of the store was completed successfully. Seeing the for lease sign where Mike's restaurant used to be made me feel sad. Surely Mike and his mother must feel even sadder. So, I shouldn't show my sadness, I thought, and plastered on a smile. Right after finishing the closure, Mike started his job search. It's a good thing, but I was a bit worried since he just closed his shop. You don't have to rush, you know? Taking a week or two off won't hurt anyone. I've always been working, so if I stop, I get restless. Plus, if I take a week off, I might get used to it and never want to work again. Mike brushed off the somber mood with a joke after my worried comment. Maybe my concerns were unnecessary for him. I decided to quietly support him without dampening his spirits. Eventually, Mike landed a sales job. It seems I didn't need to do anything after all. Even after starting the job, he was energetic and seemed to enjoy the new environment. However, about 3 months later, the situation drastically changed. One night, Mike spread several papers across the living room table, looking dejected. What's wrong? Oh. I'm using my salary for the restaurant's loan repayment, right? It makes me wonder why I'm even working. It seemed like no matter how much Mike worked, The money just slipped through his fingers, which was demotivating him. Being blamed for the restaurant's failure is one thing, but losing the sense of purpose in work is tough and dangerous. If this continues, my husband might become unable to work. I felt this might be the time for me to step up as his wife. The restaurant debt is about $120,000, right? Yeah, but why? I've saved some money from when I was single. How about I use that to pay off the debt for now? What do you mean? Just pay me back little by little. How about half of what you're paying now each month? Then half of your salary would still be yours, right? Plus, we'd cut out the interest, so the total repayment amount would be less. But is that really okay? It's fine. We're married, aren't we? Usually, Mike would hesitate more when I suggest something, but this time he accepted it rather quickly. My offer must have come at a critical time when his spirit was particularly low. Once I paid off the debt, Mike perked up and began working with renewed vigor. However, he got a little too spirited and started misdirecting his energy. Welcome back. Where were you yesterday? Does it matter? It's none of your business. Yesterday, Mike left the house alone in the afternoon on his day off and didn't return until tonight. He walked past me and headed straight for the shower as soon as he got home. Once the debt was cleared, Mike noticeably changed. And not just in how he treated me, but also there was another big problem. Mike, what about this month's payment? Huh? Oh, I'll swing by the bank tomorrow, just wait a bit. But you said that yesterday too, right? And I still haven't received last month's payment either? Stop nagging me, you money grubber. Is money all you care about? When I asked Mike about money while he was lounging on the sofa, he shouted at me, pushed me away, and stormed out of the house. I still haven't received a penny from him. Why has he changed so much? It's good that my mother-in-law is here with me during this time. I can always talk to her about Mike. At least that's what I thought. It's your fault, Julie. Nagging your own husband about money. No wonder Mike gets angry. My mother-in-law was sitting at the dining table, watching our interaction and crunching on crackers. Seemingly not taking the situation seriously, almost smirking. I can somewhat understand why Mike has changed, though it's not justifiable. But for some reason, my mother-in-law changed at the same time. She also started leaving the house erratically and wouldn't return for hours. I realized I was spending more time alone at home. But being together was also becoming painful. Hey? The pot's empty? Sorry, I accidentally dumped everything in the sink because it looked awful. It was a disaster, wasn't it? So it doesn't matter, right? What happened? Julie messed up cooking again. Mom. It's not that Julie's meals are bad because something went wrong, but that's just her best effort. Comparing her to us, who used to run a restaurant, is just sad. Oh, was that it? I'm sorry for not realizing that you were trying your best to reach that quality. They laughed as they walked out together. They must have gone out to eat somewhere. The coldness from my husband Mike and his mother now feels much worse compared to their previous kindness. Every day their coldness chips away at my spirit. I regret having impulsively paid off Mike's debt, thinking money changes people. However, it seems money wasn't the only thing that changed them. One day, while I was shopping at the supermarket, I ran into someone who used to be a regular at Mike's restaurant. Hey, congratulations! For what? Your baby. I saw your mother-in-law walking with a baby in the park the other day. She went all the way to that park far from here. It's a nice park with lots of greenery, isn't it? Could you tell me more about that? What? The former regular looked uncomfortable, as if realizing they had said something they shouldn't have. But they weren't to blame. After hearing more, it was clear. The ones at fault were Mike and his mother, and one more person. After talking to the former regular, I hoped for the best as I headed to the city hall. A week later, my fears were confirmed. It was the worst-case scenario. I decided to confront Mike and his mother without thinking of the consequences. I laid out the documents on the table and waited for them to return. They were out together, so they would probably return at the same time. Around midnight, I heard the door, and they came back chatting happily. What's with the scary face? Oh. That. His mother casually pointed at the documents on the table while tugging at Mike's clothes. It seemed no detailed explanation was necessary. Did you figure it out? Yes. I never imagined you had an illegitimate child. And your mother knew about it too. You found out, didn't you? I met a regular from the store at the supermarket. They said they saw your mother with a baby. I thought we wouldn't get caught because of the distance, but secrets do come out, don't they? It's impressive. You've got not only the current family search document, but also the old ones. You and your mother moved when you transferred your address, right? When you transfer, some items from the old records are erased in the new one. That's why I got the old record as well. There it was, clearly marked birth of a child. You were clever to think of getting the old record. I helped with a relative's inheritance recently. During that, we often checked the old records to confirm the existence of children. Didn't you think it was his mistress's child? At first, I did. But then you two suggested moving before getting married, right? I thought maybe you were trying to erase the birth of a child entry through the transfer. I see. Still, to go to these lengths, you're incredible. Mike picked up the old records and started examining them. However, his expression didn't look like someone panicking over a revealed secret child. His mother was smirking occasionally during the conversation. I felt an eerie calmness about them. Now that it's out, why not stop hiding and tell me the truth? You planned to have me pay off the store's debt from the beginning, didn't you? There's no point in hiding it anymore. I told you I had broken up with her before we got together, but that was a lie. We're still together. The child is hers. She's a wonderful kid, and I was happy when she got pregnant. But the store wasn't doing well, and we were already on the brink. She doesn't make much either, so I thought we couldn't marry as things were. That's why I thought about quitting the store to work, but the debt would remain. We couldn't live together like that. So you trapped me. Yeah, I went around saying we had broken up and was looking for a target over time, but you came along quickly. I knew you were single and saving money, so you were a perfect mark. Just wish you had given the money quicker. When you said you were closing the store, we talked about money, but you didn't agree to pay, did you? Yeah. So, I had to make it look like a lot was happening with closing the store, and that my motivation at work was dropping. It was all quite bothersome. So, you started being cold because I paid? Was that why? That's right. Ideally, I wanted you to never find out about the child and to suggest divorce yourself. If the child and his mother's existence got out, I'd have to pay alimony. But once the child was known, there was no point in hiding anymore. Mike and his mother continued to act nonchalantly. It was a bizarre situation. Normally, finding an illegitimate child would corner the two of them, but instead, their attitude was driving me to the edge. Moreover, since before Mike and I got together, he had been continuously involved with this other woman. From my perspective as his wife, she might seem like the mistress, but from her perspective, I might be the affair, and she's the one he truly loves. My mind feels like it's glitching. It's a shame we got caught, but we won once you paid off the debt. Yeah, alimony might be as high as $60,000, but we got $120,000 from you. Our debt decreased by $60,000. That's a win for us. I loaned you $120,000. Make sure you pay it back. What? Did we? I thought it was a gift. That's not possible. Pay back the money. I thought it was a gift, and you thought it was a loan. This is a financial dispute. In this case, you need to prove I promised to pay it back. Did we write a loan agreement? Did I ever pay you even a penny? I always got angry because you kept demanding I repay what I received as a gift. Your turn to speak. We agreed initially that you would pay me back little by little. I don't remember that. Unless you have evidence, your words don't count. I felt more frustrated than angry at my husband's smug expression. The money was supposed to be a matter between spouses, and I was deceived into thinking he was decent, so I didn't write a loan agreement. In hindsight, that's no excuse. I should have insisted on a written agreement, no matter who the other party was. My failure to do so was my mistake. I clenched my fists, holding back my frustration. So, it was all about the money from the start? Isn't this a case of marriage fraud? Does marriage fraud apply if we're actually married? I don't know. But we discussed money after getting married, so isn't it just a financial issue between spouses? Some people hide their income, debts, or the fact they're divorced with kids. Even if a secret child is discovered, it might at best be a reason for divorce. You sound convincing as someone who's been divorced. That seems to be the case, but after all this, do you still want to stay married? Divorce is the only option, right? Get out of this house. I had intended to corner them both with the knowledge of the secret child, but it seems I failed. Please, give me a day to prepare to leave. You're hopeless. Just one day. They left the house laughing mockingly at me. I was unprepared and defeated. I'll concede defeat this time and back down. But this is a strategic retreat. Next time, I'll be fully prepared to face my husband and mother-in-law. Early in the morning, I called the moving company. Since it's the off-season, they could start moving things this morning. I had packed everything last night, so they could come right away, but there was something I wanted to ask the movers first. As I was getting everything ready, my husband Mike and his mother returned around noon. What, you're still here? You aren't planning to stay after saying you'd leave, are you? The moving company is coming today. I expect the truck will be here soon. I looked at their faces and felt like saying something about what was about to happen, but I just looked down and responded. They probably thought I was hiding my frustration. Soon after, 2 trucks, large and small, arrived. Wow, those are some big trucks. You're not planning on taking all the furniture and appliances, right? That would be a cliché move. I wouldn't do that. The furniture and appliances are communal property. If I took them, it would put me in a bad spot. I led the movers into the apartment and had them start moving the boxes I had packed the night before. True professionals. They efficiently moved everything out. When the movers had loaded everything onto the smaller truck, they checked with me. What should we do with the items on this truck? Bring them all back into the room we just emptied. Into that room? Are you sure? Yes. All that stuff belongs to him. I pointed at Mike with a smile. Mike looked puzzled, with a question mark practically hovering over his head. Well, if you say so. What? What's this? When the movers opened the larger truck, Mike and his mother were shocked at the sight of the load. The large truck was filled with the refrigerator, ice machine, stove, fryers, and other kitchen equipment, as well as tables and chairs from Mike's restaurant. Come on, hurry up. There's quite a bit here. Overwhelmed by the sight, Mike and his mother were momentarily frozen. After a few seconds, they seemed to regain mobility, and Mike approached me angrily. What is this about? You told me to get rid of it, but I just pretended to. This stuff is yours, so I'm leaving it here. Why didn't you get rid of it? You were planning to close the shop from the start, weren't you? But you acted all sentimental to me. I was completely fooled. I thought you might say you wanted to start the shop again, so I kept everything usable and hid it in a storage unit. You told me to handle the disposal of the unwanted items, so no complaints, right? As we spoke, the movers continued to bring in more and more items. Wait. Stop. You'll break the floor. Well, there's nothing I can do about that. Mom, you shouldn't cause trouble for everyone. If I, the client, say to bring it in, they have to, don't they? True professionals. I had informed them that the hallways in the apartment were narrow, so they took apart the larger items as much as they could. This took up all morning, and they didn't get to my place until afternoon. Moreover, items I thought wouldn't fit were maneuvered through narrow hallways and even lifted via the balcony, resulting in more items entering the house than I had anticipated. For items that absolutely couldn't fit into the house, I had them put back into the storage unit. Once the work was done, the house was packed to the brim. A truly overwhelming sight. An air conditioning unit awkwardly placed at the entrance made it so you had to sidestep to get into the room. The back of the room was cluttered with various disassembled parts, leaving no room to walk. Well, that completes my moving preparations. What are we going to do with this? It'll have to be disposed of. The estimate was about $10,000. That much? Please take care of disposing of the items returned to the storage unit too. Oh, and from now on, you'll be paying the storage unit fees. Seeing their flustered expressions gave me some satisfaction. I got into the smaller truck and headed for my parents' home. Doing all this, you've spent $120,000. I'll owe $60,000 in alimony, and disposing of this junk will cost about $10,000, making it $70,000 in total. I'm still coming out ahead. That's right. All your scheming, and you still lost. Before the truck pulled away, my husband and his mother made sure to remind me. Indeed, financially, I have lost more so far. I really should get the money he insists was a gift repaid. However, as he mentioned, there's no promissory note, and he hasn't repaid a cent. It would be tough without proof of the promise to repay. However, last night while packing, I remembered something important. What my husband had overlooked. The following week, he suddenly called me. You! Were you hiding evidence? Oh, did it arrive? The certified mail from the lawyer. I wasn't hiding it. I just remembered it while packing. I had recorded some of our conversations on my smartphone. I checked and found you saying, "I feel bad taking your money, I'll definitely pay it back." I told you afterward that I was recording as a note-taking method, and that's when we agreed on me giving the money, so you must have let your guard down. Damn! I'm not paying anything. It seemed my husband just wanted to declare he wouldn't repay the money, and he hung up quickly. Despite his resistance, the case went to court, and from the recording, it was clear he acknowledged borrowing the money from me and had intended to repay it. He was ordered to repay the full $120,000. Now, he not only has to repay me the $120,000 but also pay alimony. I smirked internally, pleased to have won over my husband and his mother. Alongside the lawsuit over the money, we also proceeded with divorce talks. The divorce was finalized without issue. In the alimony settlement, my ex-husband paid me $40,000, and his girlfriend paid $20,000. He also had to repay the $120,000 he borrowed from me. If there are any delays in the repayment, I intend to enforce it. He understands this and is prioritizing repaying me. Which seems to be why he can't afford to dispose of the unwanted items like the refrigerator, pushing them into storage instead. Renting a storage unit costs money. Even a few $1,000s a month is a painful expense for my ex-husband now. Despite working, a large part of his paycheck disappears every month, likely causing his work motivation to decline. However, I won't help him this time. He needs to continue working hard, motivation or not. After the divorce, my ex-husband apparently took his mother and moved in with his girlfriend and child. He was supposed to return debt-free after closing his shop, but instead, he accumulated more debt. Moreover, his strategy failed, and even his girlfriend ended up having to pay alimony. For her, it would have been easier to live separately and just receive child support from him. From her perspective, my ex-husband and his mother are just nuisances. They were quickly abandoned by his girlfriend, and it seems he is now only responsible for child support. Kicked out by his girlfriend, my ex-husband and his mother started living together in a small apartment, obviously struggling. As life got harder, my ex-husband considered abandoning his mother to lighten his own load. After being ousted, the former mother-in-law clung to her son, and now they argue every night. I spent some time back at my parents' house before returning to living alone. Since my marriage lasted less than a year, I've decided to consider it as if it never happened. I'm erasing my ex-husband from my memory. Now, I'm focusing on my work while hoping for a chance at what would be my second first marriage.